Kev, what up? Kev, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, cool. Hey, gang. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. As you would say, salute. Smooth, what up?
I don't see you.
Appreciate you. You might have to go on your own. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Long time ago, Smooth. Long time ago. We're going to wait for my man Bren to jump on here. We're going to get this thing started. Hope all of y'all are doing well out there. Excited to be back. Do some things a little bit different.
No. Where's the record button?
Don't worry about it. Smooth, what's going on down in Florida? Make sure you don't take those African American study curriculums out them high schools down there, Smooth. That's your job. Yeah, I gotta get on my guy. I gotta let him know if we early, we on time. If you on time, you late. There we go. There we go. Brent, what's going on? Brendan, let me know if you can hear me. Oh. Welcome to the Positive Impact Podcast, Season 2, Episode 1. It's good to be back after a long hiatus. A lot of things have happened. I'm your host, Terrell Dozier, and this is the podcast where game recognizes game. My first guest tonight, and I'm I'm over the moon happy about this to do this interview with a young man who I've known for a long time. He's doing big things out there, and I'm excited to talk to him. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Brendan Kaminsky.
Terrell,
Brendan, what's going on with you?
my man, I'm so sorry for the delay, but super happy to be here with you.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. We done talked about you already. Don't worry about it. We talked about the tardiness already. You
Yeah,
know how we do.
that's totally on me, and I should be, especially as someone who works in technology, man.
All
Um,
good, man. All good, man. It's good to see you. It's good to see you growing up. You know what I mean? One of the big things is about this is obviously being able to see you come from a young boy to a young man, and now a grown man doing big things out here. So I gotta start off the show differently and say, number one, how proud I am of you that you've you know, went from this little kid, and we'll get into that, like sitting courtside trying to get everybody's autographs, to now, like, helping these same type of people who you once got autographs from build their brand. So again, man, before we even start, I'm gonna give you your flowers right now and say how extremely proud I am of the man that you become.
Man, that means a lot, and it's so cool here, just because, yeah, I mean, when I'm trying to wonder when we met. What was I 13? Is that the right age?
I don't know.
Was it young?
Listen. I didn't want to embarrass you tonight, but I got to listen, man. I got a picture. I got a picture of you in my basement, and you were younger, man. Your mom sent me this picture one summer, and you were young. It was like you playing basketball, like at your house. You were way younger than 13.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Wesley. Yeah, Wesley just commented. Yeah, I think yeah, it might have been 8 or something,
Yeah,
but
it was a long time ago. The hair was way curlier back in the day, man. The
man,
hair
I
was.
had way more hair, man. Thanks for rubbing it in.
Man.
No, it's super cool, just the journey and the people along the way that I've met that, we're already connected into the space. Been well connected and been in the basketball space for so long, and it's super cool to be here with you and catch up because we haven't really caught up in a while.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get into it, man, and start from the genesis, man. Growing up out in Pennsylvania. So talk about how growing up, in sports, man. You and your brothers and sisters, they love sports. Your dad was a huge sports fan. So talk about like your first experience with sports.
hmm Yeah, my first experience with sports probably was started in the basement seeing my dad scream about the Buffalo Bills. I feel like that was probably the first. And to this day, that still rings true, especially this past Sunday
Uh,
for their epic flop. But I'd say that, yeah, like sports was always in the family, and I think we were fortunate that my dad would bring me around to a lot of events just as a fan, and he was never working in sports. He was just, always into it. And so for us, the first experience I'd say was, going to Philadelphia Sixer games and Philadelphia Eagles games. And, really when we were younger, it was Sixers. I don't know how old I was, but the Sixers Lakers NBA Finals was super fortunate to go to that. Um, and just see when Nelly had the tape on his cheek, back in the day, ran into him, and I'd say, yeah, I don't know if I can identify a specific moment, but Philadelphia 76ers, Eagles, running around like you said, get autographs and go to these things. I'd say a ton of Sixer games. We're both love hoops and been to a lot of games, but I think Sixers, when I think of childhood and like games I went to, it's a million times watching Iverson.
And definitely we got to shout out Gary Kaminsky for the Sixers tickets.
Yeah.
Took advantage of a couple of those myself. So So it's weird. Like you're from, the Philadelphia area, but your teams were the Hornets, I believe, the Carolina Panthers,
Yeah.
Ohio State Buckeyes. Am I right? Did I get that
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
talk about like how
you
does a kid from Philly it's not
yeah.
Sixers, Eagles, like how did that come? Like why Charlotte? Why Carolina? What was your attraction to them?
Yeah. Yeah, I look, I think when I was younger, I just picked jerseys I liked. It was very, there was not much to it. I know, as you know, I was a big Baron Davis fan and, collected him, memorabilia cards, all that stuff. And I think for some of it, it was following players. Over time, I will say I've become Philadelphia 76ers fan, although I do love basketball just as a whole and the NBA more than I like the 76ers. But yeah, man, I don't know what it was. I will say that over time it was like Philly fans just, and anyone who's listening that is a Philly fan is like, yo, what are you talking about? You're from Philly, you should rep Philly. But like I just had too many run-ins with just obnoxious Philly fans. And just like the more that happened, the more that I'm just like wasn't with it. So I think that was part of it. But yeah, I was all over the place. And I will say, I get tired of like answering, yo, you're a Panthers fan. And now I will say I'm more of, Bills probably just because my dad's from there. But like, I get tired of just, and when I ask people questions, right? Like if I'm like, oh, someone's like, oh, I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, but I live in New York, I usually try not to ask why, because it's like I hate people having to justify why they're a fan of a player or a team. I think it's a valid question by you because it's like, yo, Philly fans are just diehards. I should be like big time for the NFC Championship this weekend, but I don't know. I was just more into players and more into like, the flashy jerseys.
So you go to college, right? And obviously, knowing your background, I am not surprised at where you went to college, right? So talk about your experience at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, why you wanted to go there. So explain to my audience, obviously I know why. Explain to your audience why you wanted to, and what your connection was to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Yeah, so growing up, I think was always a Carolina person, always a Tar Heel fan, because my dad, who went there and graduated class of '82, the same year that Jordan hit the jumper to win it in the championship, where Michael Jordan really became Michael Jordan.
Yes.
But I was really fortunate to be able to go to UNC, and I think it was always something that I had thought about, and when it came time for college, it was like, I don't know if this can happen. And it did. I think we would always go, like even for homecomings, my dad and his fraternity brother, like we would always go there, right? You probably saw us growing up wearing way too much Carolina gear. And then, yeah, just being able to go there was just, man, it was just incredible. And just as a college town, and seeing it up close and personal as a student and going to the basketball games and football games and meeting friends, that I still talk to this day, like Scott Bissinger, who just joined, if he's still watching, literally just joined like 5 seconds ago, was in my fraternity at UNC. Like, it was an amazing experience, and, it led to really good experience. Like a lot of the UNC stuff led to some really good professional experience in the sports world. And so that was really a blessing. But yeah, it was just always a Tar Heel.
Absolutely. So talk about, because when you were coming up, right, like social media was just starting to gain some traction. And so I want to know, when did it come, into you that you could really like use social media, right? Because some people use social media for some just idiotic things, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
right? Like they don't really use it properly, right? It gives, I think it's one of those things you talked about, obnoxious fans. I think it gives obnoxious fans an opportunity to like go at their team and just say negative things, right? And hide behind keys on a keyboard or on a cell phone. But you saw it as an opportunity for some of these players, right, to kind of interact with fans and let fans see a different side to them. Like, where did that idea come
Yeah.
from? Where did that kind of idea come from?
Yeah. So I think I always was into technology, into social media. Like I remember being in high school and was really into jailbreaking my iPhone, if you remember that, or I don't know if jailbreaking is still a thing, but always did it before there was an app store. I think I was just like into jailbreaking, and so I was into that. I just was into interacting with fans and doing like or interacting like on different like social platforms, or just how technology moved. And I think for me, it really started like in college. Like I had Twitter since like 2009, or 2010. And, just really like started to do some campaigns. Like so the way that social media for me first started was I was an EA Sports rep at UNC, and we would promote video games on campus. We would promote tournaments with kids, whether it was Madden or back in the day, NBA Live. And, it would just like try to get social promotion. And the biggest thing that I did, which really opened my eyes up to pursuing social media in a bigger way, was we had to promote a Facebook app my senior year, junior or senior year. I think it was my senior year. And everyone in the nation could promote this Facebook app for EA Sports, and you could accumulate different points for your school, right? So if you're Terrell, like, oh, Terrell, log into Facebook, vote for UNC on this Facebook app, watch this video game, and you can give us points. So it was a 6-week campaign. Whatever school nationwide got the most votes won the campaign. We ended up winning the campaign nationwide. And because of that, we won a free Snoop Dogg concert. So Snoop Dogg came and performed at UNC because of the work that we did, me and my friend Tyler, who we just were able to, get athletes to post about it and all this stuff. And we got to meet Snoop after the show. And it was all from social media campaign. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like I was able to meet Snoop Dogg, and maybe do some other things with Snoop Dogg, because of, thank you, Jasmine. Hello, Jasmine. Jasmine's awesome. Because of, social media, because of social media campaigns. So if I'm able to meet Snoop Dogg because of this, there's got to be more to it. And I'm really interested in this. There was tangible ways. And so then I'm like, I love sports. I love social. Let's just do more of it. And that really started. And then I did something for CBS Sports, and we run a campaign. And then ultimately, my biggest into sports was when I, graduated. Harrison Barnes declared for the draft. And I bugged him enough and a bunch of ideas where finally he's like, all right, let's try something. And then I was a social media guy, and for 3 months, and 3 months became a year, which became 2 years, which, really opened up a lot of doors for me. And to this day, like, I just thank him because at the time, man, I didn't know anything. Like, I was right out of school, gave Harrison ideas. Maybe I was, innovative and had some better ideas than other people. But to this day, we're in touch, and and there's a lot more to that, which I'm happy to talk about. But I thank him for like giving me a chance when I was straight out of school. Just was really like, thanks. You didn't have to do that, like now, right? Present day, I feel like I'm a solid professional. I'm a business owner. But back in the day, like, because his agent said no, his agent declined me, but he believed in me. And so, and along the way, all the people, whether it's you or Harrison or, people that I worked for, like, I'll never forget the people along the way. And, I'm like, just starting my career and trying to figure it out. But those people mean the world.
So 2014, let's talk about 4 letters.
Yeah.
ESPN.
Yeah.
how did that opportunity come along? Like, what were the emotions like, you know, going into that when you got that break? Because that kind of like really put you on the map. If Harrison, I feel like if Harrison got you through the door, like ESPN got you your own room. So talk about that, how
Yeah,
that opportunity came along and how you were able to, you know, kind of parlay that to where you are today.
absolutely. Kevin, ESPN alum. Shout out to Kevin. So ESPN, the way ESPN came about is I just met when I was interning at Bloomberg, I sat next to a guy who's like, "Oh, you did some sports stuff in college. You should meet my brother-in-law. He works at EA Sports." And he's like, "No, not EA Sports, ESPN." I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, "Damn, that's a big difference." Like, but I was like, "Yeah, he like runs the ESPN digital team." And I was like, "Damn, I would love to meet that guy. That's so cool."
Right.
And eventually I met him, and he introduced me to the social team. His name is Brian Daly. To this day, I thank him so much for, you know, talking to me and making an introduction. And I did some work with the ESPN social team. I was like, "Hey, here's some stuff that I did," you know, and then I started working with Harrison. So then it was like, how can we collaborate? And so through that, it was like the biggest thing to this day, that not the biggest thing, but like one of the big things that I wish that happened that never happened was when Harrison Barnes was in the dunk contest. I had like my guy hits me, Mike Buckland, who still talked to this day and is a great mentor. He was like, "What? This is a crazy idea. What if Harrison live tweeted Sports Center while he was in the dunk contest, right?" And Sports Center, look, back then, it's still huge. Don't get me wrong. Now there's a lot more outlets and a lot more platforms and stuff. But especially then, it was like, that'd be huge, right? They promote it on TV. Harrison agreed to do it. And I was like, damn, this is sick. I made this happen. NBA shut it down. I was so bummed. I'm like, why is the NBA shutting this down? Maybe because Turner owns the night.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you know, we were just able to do a lot of collaborations. And then through then, you know, Mike is like eventually, like, you still interested in working here? Like, we have a position, you know, and virtually my interview process was that month, you know, 6-month period, whatever it is, when we were going back and forth, and he saw how I thought, and I'd send him ideas. What do you think about this and that, even outside of Harrison? And I always tell people, like, that's the best way. That is really your resume. That's better than a resume. And so I didn't really have an interview process because they're like, "Oh, this kid seems pretty smart." And they could have been wrong. Right. They could have been really wrong. But that's how it happened. And through that, you know, it was just able to, you know, turn into a lot. And ESPN was the best thing to happen to my career.
Nah, no question. How can it not? You know, the likes of Stephen A. Smith, you know, Woj, you know, Jalen Rose, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have so much access to all these personalities there. So tell me, like, once you got around these personalities, how did your idea evolve, you know, with them and their whole social media presence? How did that idea evolve? How did you approach them to say, "Hey, listen, I think I can help you guys go to another level"?
Yeah, what's interesting is my work with the personalities didn't really start until like 4 years into my ESPN career. And the first 4 years I worked on the brand side, man. I was doing NBA on ESPN, Sports Center, NFL, college football, college basketball. And then nobody had formally sat down and worked with ESPN personalities. And like, look, now and then everyone, if you worked on a show or you just did some work with them on a video or feature, like, you might have a relationship with Woj, but like, there wasn't like a, "Hey, Woj," or Stephen A. or whoever, "This is what you should do on Instagram. This is what makes sense. This is how we can help on the ESPN side." And so there was a big opportunity, and I just ran with it. And, you know, I felt that through my work on the brand side, through my previous talent stuff, right? I did Harrison stuff, felt like I was pretty solid with talent, which is a skill in itself, which, you know, a lot of people have, you know, not everyone, but, you know, even if you're like really good at your job, but you don't know how to have the patience for working with a high profile person, like, might not matter. So I feel like I had that part too. Some days I get rattled, but I think that just through that, I just had the confidence to sit in front of these high profile people and just be like, and think to myself, they don't know anything about what I know, right? They're way more accomplished than I am in their career and what they're doing. They're TV stars, digital stars, maybe some a little bit. They've owned Twitter, but like they don't know as much on the other stuff. And so I had confidence being like, I'm a strategy person with social. I know what you should be doing. And I think that's what they needed. And so it just became really fun. And I'm very numbers driven. So, seeing some of these things and seeing some of these personalities really grow was just really exciting for me. And everything I do is analytics driven. So it just became really fun to see their eyes light up when their numbers were growing, when they were seeing things that they hadn't seen before. And as the stuff was moving, as Instagram was coming and Facebook and now TikTok, at the time, TikTok wasn't much of a push. Like it just became, fun. And the thing is, it adds value. It adds value to the brand. It adds value to ESPN properties and other things. So I just, I had a blast doing it. And I was always more interested in the talent side.
Nice. Be known. Talk to me about the name, how you came up with the name. So the first thing that I see when I see Be Known is BK, Brendan Kaminsky, right?
Yeah.
But talk about how you came up with the with Be Known.
Yeah, for sure. So finding a name for a company is really hard. I had a creative person help me with all my stuff when I started, whether it was marketing materials, website, logo, brand identity, how to convey it to the world. And that person gave me some names, and Ben, he was great. He was absolutely great. Josh Berman, shout out to Josh Berman. But the names, I couldn't do the name. He didn't have a name, right? Because I feel like the name has to come within. And so I would float around to some creative people, and I would like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And originally I thought of like Be Current or Be Currency. Like I'm big on the term of currency, right? Like the best kind of currency isn't really cash or money, or USD, or nowadays it could be crypto. But the best kind of currency is, I think, relationships and value. And so I always was into like, what kind of currency can you provide other people, personally or professionally? But then it was like, if it's Be Currency, it'll make people think of crypto. This isn't a crypto company. And then, I have to give credit to, my uncle, Arthur, who, was like, Be Known. And I was like, fuck, that's good. That's really good. And obviously, because it also has my initials, BK in it. And it was Be Known. And then there was one other. Maybe it was Be Current was the other. But like Be Known, man, it just hit. And like, it just made sense, right? Because what I do is help you be known, right? Like help you be seen by the world and marketed. And it just was like, I love the simplicity of it. And so just kind of happened that way.
Nah, I like it. And I like the spelling of it, because to me, it doesn't hit as hard if it's BE known, right? So just the B itself. So I love that. I love that.
Thank
how
you.
the initials are in it, and the name and the concept behind it is really, really good. So for people who don't understand what it is you do, so take a Jalen Rose, for instance, who's one of your clients. Like, you get a client, what is your job to do to help them, and how do you do that?
Yep. So the thesis of Be Known, and what I tell people is, we're a branding and social media agency, right? So people come to us, right? So it's someone like Jalen. What should I be doing on social, right? Or Terrell Dozier come to me, hey, how should I be growing, right? And what does that mean? And what are these platforms I should be focusing on? And what we'll do is, here's how to grow on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and whatever else comes out tomorrow or the next day. Like, we want to be on the forefront of how to grow your audience and engage. And so it changes all the time. So we monitor the platforms, we work directly with the platforms. So what that looks like, low-hanging fruit, social strategy and social management, right? How do you do all these things? So are we doing full service social management? Are we doing advisory? Whatever that looks like. We also, when it makes sense, can bring in deals. We can bring in deal flow. If it's, hey, someone wants to pay you X amount of money to post this on Instagram or Twitter or be involved in this campaign, right? So it can do that. And a lot of, what I'll do is it stems from the digital world. As time goes on, we want to just bring opportunities to people when they make sense. If we have a client and, we see something that could make them money or add their marketing value, we'll do it. But yeah, a lot of social strategy and management. That's the core of what we do. And who we work with is, I think it's personality driven, talent driven, and a lot in sports. It doesn't have to be just sports. Right. There's always occasions where there's someone in entertainment or, fashion, and probably not fashion, but more, something entertainment or culture. It could be someone in culture that touches on sports, but doesn't only do sport. Right. And then we'll advise brands too. So it doesn't have to be just talent. But yeah, certainly a lot of it comes in the talent world. And sometimes on the brand side, like brands might want to reach talent, and I'll tell them how to reach talent and, be like, hey, we want to reach these NBA players, or, hey, like we have these NBA players. How do we use them? And I'll help advise on that front.
Absolutely. So, we're talking about professionals, we're talking about personalities. So I want to go down a level to high school and college, right? And I want to talk about NIL. And I know you do some talks, in as far as NIL is concerned. Explain to the listeners what NIL is. Is this something that Be Known is looking to get involved in, or is involved in, as far as like advising, collegiate athletes on how to build their social brands, right? Because I think branding is everything. Obviously, like people are getting drafted, like they're going to old tweets and stuff like that. Like people can really use, like student athletes can really use this advice on how to maintain a positive social media image.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, NIL is name, image, and likeness, and legislation was passed July of 2021, where college athletes can now make money off their brand, make money off their apparel, and rightfully so. So what that means is all these people can hire marketing agents. They can't hire traditional agents, but they can have people like me helping them with marketing. And it's led to a ton of opportunity. It's also very messy. And, it's been very fun, I think. And so as far as how I've gotten involved is, I think for me, there's more inbound business that comes that might be from the NIL world, right? Like not just from the pro world, not just from a TV media personality world or an influencer, but from hey, this is a college athlete who's looking for deals, or if you know any opportunities, let me know, or would love you to talk to the kid and his parents or her parents on how to grow online. For me, I just continue to navigate it. Sometimes brands, I might say, hey, do you want to do an NIL campaign? You're looking for talent. You should work with this basketball player, this football player, whatever, volleyball player. I will say that for me, like when NIL comes out, I think there's a lot of like, oh, now everyone can make money. The truth is, people that are really making money, it's like the top 1%, right? Like certainly $2,000 to a college kid could be huge, right? They get $2,000 at a local pizza place or local clothing brand. That's phenomenal. That's $2,000 they might not have gotten before, and they can use that for books or just spending money generally. For me, as a business owner, if I bring someone $2,000 and it's a kid who's like a freshman or sophomore, what am I going to do? Take a 10% cut off that and take $200 from them? Probably not. And so if you are a bigger agency, you can afford to just do a bunch of these smaller deals because you have bigger infrastructure. You've got a huge business that has full of people that can go out and hustle that way. I think for me, because I'm smaller, I have a team of 5 that's phenomenal. We focus on more like someone that I'd say is higher profile, that we feel like there's a lot of opportunity with bigger brands, because that can serve as a good funnel for, like, I think that's the big, so one, there's more opportunity for them because they're in that top tier category or just can command good marketing dollars, and we can justify that as a business. But two, it serves as a really good funnel for the next step. And I think for me, that's the way I view it, is this is a funnel to build relationships with kids, you know, for when they do become pro. Even if I don't make a lot of money with them or for them, hopefully for them, when they're in college, I think it's more so like, oh, BK, yeah, for sure. What do you want to do? Like, or now I can bring them opportunities, or now like they're a pro and they can just be in the mix. So that's the way I view it. I think it's very messy, and it's still like unclear, like for a lot of brands, what they're supposed to be doing, for a lot of kids on what they're supposed to be doing. And like I said, a lot of folks, you know, aren't going to make that much. Now, again, they don't have to make that much, but I think when you're talking about someone like me or a manager or agent, whatever, like, you know, it's just only so much money there, you know, when it comes to NIL. I mean, there's a lot, but
Right.
you know, don't get me wrong. Some of these guys are making big money, right? If you're the Ohio State quarterback, if you're Zion Williamson, I know Zion didn't have NIL. Like, if you're that top person, some of these women's volleyball players are right. Yeah. Like, there's a lot, but there's also 99% that's not doing anything.
Right. Nah, no question about it. So, Positive Impact and the Positive Impact Podcast is a small, non-for-profit, it's a beginning podcast. I am now a client of Be Known Agency. How do you help the Positive Impact Podcast grow? How do you help my social media presence grow? What surface level advice do you have for somebody like me who's just trying to get his message out to people? Not so much the masses, but just to people.
Yep. So Positive Impact, what I would say to you is everything on social right now is vertical video, right? Right now, we're on this live in a vertical video. This is how people want to consume content. And a little bit because they're forced to consume content this way, right? Whether it's TikTok is all vertical, you know, YouTube, Instagram Reels, you know, like scrolling on Twitter that takes up their whole screen. So the more that you can dominate the feed and dominate the phone, the better off you are. So Instagram, so if I'm you, I go all in on vertical video, okay? And I'd go all in on TikTok, and I'd go all in on Instagram, and on YouTube, I'd focus on vertical content, YouTube Shorts. So, and I would take that concept beyond video. I would take it for graphics. If you notice, when you were asking me, hey, I want to make a graphic, I said, make sure to make it vertical. Like, I want to post it vertically on the story. You should post it vertical. You know, some of it's intuitive. The more you take up someone's phone, the less they can see someone else's content. You know, I don't, if I'm posting something and then it's wide and someone's like, oh, there's Terrell's post. I'm like, damn, they're already looking at Terrell's post, but I want them to look at all mine. If my thing took up, you know, 4x5, 9x16, they can't see it unless they scroll past it. So sometimes it's that intuitive. So I'd say focusing on that. I'd say it's doing stuff on social directly for fans. What I tell TV personalities is, you know, when you're on TV, you should get your content up on social, but even better than that is making stuff like this, right? Like with your, hey, like on your phone, right? You don't have that problem because everything you do is on your phone or your computer. But like sometimes making content directly for them and doing things that they want. So what does that mean? That means captioning videos, right? That means you know, making it shorter, making it not too long. No one has any attention span anymore, right? Like people have popped in and out of this Instagram live and they've joined for like, I don't know, like you can't really tell, but some of these people maybe joined for like 5 seconds and left, you know? So, and maybe some people stayed, and thank God, you know, thanks to everyone who has stayed in. But I think that it's more so just like know that your attention span is so limited. So you want to get to the point, right? Now there is longer form. YouTube is longer form. Facebook is longer form. TikTok is, man, you want to get to the hook right away. So if you're making content, try to get to the hook. And with your interview, you have these tremendous interviews, beyond posting the long interview. Find the gems. Find like hey, this is 30 seconds of something that my guest said or something that I said that I think is impactful. And I'm going to cut off that small clip and I'm going to put that on social and use that as a way to promote my podcast. So I think that's what I tell folks all the time is a talent is like when you go on a podcast, the best part about it is that turns into 10 social clips. It's not about joining that podcast and then posting it once and cutting it up, or retweeting, like if you post it, and I like retweet it, really pumped to join Terrell and Positive Impact. That's great. But what's even better is if I'm a content creator, it's me taking 10 moments and then turning them into social clips. So that's the biggest thing. And, when you get an hour of content, it's hopefully if you have a good guest, you'll have stuff that you can turn into shareable moments.
Okay. Now I appreciate that. So as we begin to wind down, I want to ask you some questions and get your thoughts on things. So Philly kid, and we talked a little bit about the Sixers. I want to know, give me your all-time Sixers team. We don't have to do it by position. Your favorite 5 Philadelphia 76ers.
I can't start this without going Iverson number one. Iverson, just because I grew up on him. No doubt, Allen Iverson, to no surprise on anyone, but he would be my number one. He might not be the greatest of all time. It's probably like Wilt Chamberlain, who should be on that list. But I would say Iverson, Wilt, Julius Erving, Charles Barkley. So that's 4. Let me see. Best 6. Iverson, Barkley, Wilt, Irving. I kind of want to put Joel Embiid on there, but I don't know if he has accomplished enough compared to some of the older ones. Like, I don't know, Bobby Jones. But it's just boring if you go Bobby Jones or Todd McCullough. That's a funny one. So you know what? I'd like to go Joel Embiid. There's a lot of others I'd love to throw in there, like Jermaine Jones, but I don't think he's worthy of it.
Nah, it's your, it's your 5. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think. I would probably probably go for me because I'm an old school guy, right? So I got to put AI on there. I'm gonna put Doc. I'm going Andrew Toney. I'm going Moses Malone. You know what I mean? And did I say Mo Cheeks?
Yeah, you said I don't know.
AI, Mo Cheeks, Dr. J, Andrew Toney, and Moses Malone. Barkley, but I like those old school guys. I'm a Mo Cheeks guy, and I love Andrew Toney. Andrew Toney might be one of my favorite Sixers of all time. But I like your 5. I think Joel has to kind of sneak up in there a little bit, and he's definitely a good one. UNC favorite 5.
Yeah, UNC favorite 5. Michael Jordan. I think you got to put Jordan in there. Phil Ford. Phil Ford, I think his number's retired. Tyler Hansbrough, got to put in there. Who won a championship my freshman year when I was at Carolina. James Worthy is probably up there. So we got Ford, Worthy, Jordan, Hansborough. And I want to throw Harrison Barnes in there. I don't know if Harrison is a top 5 UNC player of all time. So if we're talking about who the top five are. Did I say Jameson? Oh, you know what? Vince Carter. I'd love to put Vince Carter in there. But I feel like nobody knows who Lenny Rosenbluth is, but like Lenny Rosenbluth should probably be in there as well.
Okay. I like it. So we talked about NIL and how new it is, but I've often thought about like if NIL was around forever, right? Like guys were getting like under the table payments and it was super illegal. Like, like there was some, like the NCAA, like around my time in the 90s were like starting to make a ridiculous amount of money, like Nike and Adidas, like they were like all over the place. So I often think about like, what if NIL was around for the Fab Five? What if NIL, was around like when Patrick Ewing was at Georgetown?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I often think about that, how big, and now they got NIL in high school in some states. So what is LeBron getting in high school for an NIL deal? And if LeBron's getting NIL money, does he now go to college for a couple of years now, right? Because he can make the money. Like, does he just go to college for 1 year just to experience college, right? Because he's already gotten the money. Imagine how much money LeBron would have got in high school.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, like, who do you think? Like,
Yeah.
give me 5 people who you think, and it doesn't have to just be in basketball, who you think, like, could have really killed in NIL. I think Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders, like, give me 5 people that you think really could have, like, really, like, killed NIL in their day.
Yeah, it's really fun to think about, and I'm sure some of these guys, they're thinking to themselves, guys and girls, damn, I can't believe I'm now. Hopefully some of those people have gone on to make millions of dollars, but some of them haven't. So, look, some of them probably already were getting paid while they were in college, but not to the same level that they could have with NIL. So I think first and foremost, like football, nothing's bigger than football, all right? And college football is much bigger than college basketball. So, like, football players at their peak are what first comes to mind for me, right? Like Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart at USC would have crushed it, right? So I'd put that as like a 1, right? Like Reggie and Leinart as sort of a 1. Johnny Manziel, and again, I'm sure Johnny was doing just fine in college, but Johnny Manziel would have made a lot of money. I think that, one thing that comes to mind is also like UConn women's basketball. Candidly, I don't know how good they are right now. I'm sure they're always good. Tim Tebow is a really good one. I just lost my, I see Tim Tebow comment. Like, yes, Tim Tebow, I think, is another monster example. So I'd say those 3 so Tim Tebow, Leinart, and Bush, and then Johnny Manziel. But UConn women's basketball, like Diana Taurasi comes to mind. Like, especially if when NIL first came out, like she was at the top of her game at UConn, like brands would have wanted to give her major, and not just her other UConn's players, but like, she just, as being maybe the best, seemingly, she would have crushed it. And then on the basketball side, it's interesting because, like, Jordan was so long ago, but like Jordan wouldn't have, it was so long ago, but like he wasn't Michael Jordan yet, right? So I think you think of a basketball name, like Zion Williamson, who just missed it. And it could be a little recency bias, but like just given, like, I don't know, and I'm curious your thought is like, in the last 10 years, what college basketball, who else is in that conversation? Because when Zion was at Duke, he was a certified superstar. He was on ESPN 2 times a week. Like, every game was televised. Everyone wanted to see him dunking. I'm curious, who else in the last 10 years for college basketball, right, would be in that category? And look, Tyler Hansbrough, like we talked, like he would have done well for sure, but like Zion was a different level. That Zion felt like a must-watch every time he was on the court.
Yeah, nah, I definitely think that, and I would have to think pretty hard. Like, I think Zion Williamson also benefited from social media. Like, you know what I mean? But like, when you think of like Kevin Durant at Texas for 1 year, when you talk about, Mike Beasley, you know what I mean? Like, and I know like they didn't come in as hype. Like they were great players, but like Zion had a YouTube following. He had a social media following before, getting there. Social media wasn't really that relevant for Kevin Durant and Michael Beasley, who like, they killed Trey Young. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like guys who came in, but they didn't come in with that amount of hype like Zion did. Like he
Right.
could possibly.
So as well as Durant was, right? Durant
Mhm.
was incredible. You know, he didn't have the same like, people wanted to watch Zion to
Absolutely.
see him do a 360 dunk,
Absolutely.
and his marketing value was
Yeah.
huge. So I'd
Yeah.
be that'd be a fun conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I have to think like really, really hard, but like, yeah, he's definitely up there. I know my wife would agree with that. She loves
Melo
she
at
loves
Q's,
Zion.
Melo at Q's, that's a good one. Melo at
Yeah, but he didn't.
Q's,
But even him didn't come in like Zion. You know what I mean? Like
right?
he did what he did though. But you were talking about coming in and saying this is must see TV every time he was on. Like Melo definitely carried that team. Had one of the best freshman years of anybody. I put Melo up there with anybody who's my favorite NBA. My favorite NBA player. So.
Yeah.
Nah, this is good stuff, man. So the last question that I always ask everybody is, when it's all said and done, how does Brendan Kaminsky want to be remembered in this space?
Yeah. I always want to be someone who adds someone that's reliable. Like for me, I've focused on being really good at something, right? So people coming to me and being like, I want to step up my game online and social. I want to come to BK. Like
Mm-hmm.
I pride myself on being reliable and trustworthy
Mm-hmm.
and accessible. And I always want to be known for that, on being trustworthy and reliable, and also being a value add. Like I really, I like being a resource to people, and providing value in whatever way I can. Like I love, like in my Instagram bio, it says connecting the dots. I love to find bridges in the universe, or gaps in the universe, and turn them into bridges. And that's what gets me going, I'd say, more than anything. And what also gets me going is, giving back to my family. Like eventually, if I figure out a way to continue to build, be known, and continue to find success, is figuring out how to share that with the people around me, the closest people to me, and being a node, for the others, friends and family. So those are the first things that come to mind.
Awesome. Nah, I appreciate that, man, and I thank you for taking time out, man, to come catch up with an old guy, man. And like I said earlier, man, super proud of you of what you're doing. Super proud of and intrigued to see where you're going to take this, right? Because you're only going to get more access to more things as time and more technology comes along. And I know you'll stay right there ahead of the curve and continue to build this thing. So I know you'll get everything that you want out of it, man. And I'm grateful for you coming on and sharing with me and always being there to offer me some type of assistance for what I'm trying to do. So I'm appreciative of you.
I'm very grateful. I'm equally as grateful for you having me and for us having this conversation. And it's super fun. So whatever I can do to help. And, we both used to have more hair. Maybe you didn't. Maybe maybe your hair's always been like
Right.
that. I don't know. But yeah, no, it's super fun. Very grateful for you as well. And I'm sure we could do this for another like 2 hours.
Nah, yeah, now we'll definitely chop it up again, but I appreciate you. Take care, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
bro.
sir.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. All right, later.